You often talk about tragedy, but do we have tragedies in our socialism? How absurd was the period of the 10 years of turmoil? Sima Shouxian simply told a story about calling a stag a horse, and as a result, he was labeled a reactionary. You insinuate, using the past to criticize the present, and we need to settle your new and old accounts together. If the Sima brothers don't surrender, they should be destroyed. Sima originally ran a public art studio on the street, but when the Cultural Revolution broke out, he saw that many families were holding funerals, so he switched careers to selling wreaths. In that chaotic era, intellectuals like Sima, who had undesirable class origins, were most afraid of the revolutionary little generals. They were branded with big hats, and now, when it's all over, you still promote black market goods and maintain the feudal family values. Sima, realizing the situation was bad, quickly adopted the survival strategy of if you can endure, endure. He claimed to be part of their revolutionary faction. At the critical moment, Sima was quick to back down, avoiding disaster. Just as he sent off the little devils, another troublemaker appeared. The head of the neighborhood committee, Elizi, noticed the wreaths in Sima's shop and, thinking they were suitable for a funeral, wanted to get them for free for his recently deceased wife. Sima, reluctantly, agreed with a smile. However, Elizi had ulterior motives. He was interested in the widow of Zhuo, who ran a second-hand clothing store across the street. He had already sent someone to gather information about her. Soon, his underling came back with news that Zhuo had no intention of remarrying, so Elizi, deciding not to pursue the matter, said, "Forget it, it's not worth getting angry over this black market woman. Let's not tarnish our image." Sima, knowing how things worked, also understood that Elizi felt empowered because he held the rural registration quota, and Zhuo's daughter was about to graduate from middle school. If Zhuo didn't comply with him, her daughter would suffer. Ah, tragedy! It's truly tragic. Due to their undesirable class origins, both Sima and Zhuo frequently found themselves paraded through the streets, something they had to comply with. It wasn't that Sima felt guilty, but he knew that resistance would only bring more trouble. The people who were paraded were fixed in number, but today, an unusual man appeared, Niu San, the local butcher. Although he came from a poor farming family and wasn't the target of criticism, his love for alcohol and previous fights, including one where he smashed a Red Guards restaurant, led him to be paraded through the streets as well. During the subsequent self-criticism meeting, Elizi asked the people to confess their sins in order to receive leniency. Sima was very familiar with this process, having prepared his speech at home. He was ready to confess anything, as long as it would help him remove his hat and graduate from the Cultural Revolution study sessions. In contrast to Sima's submissiveness, Niu San was far more rebellious. He tried to leave when he heard that there was no alcohol in the study sessions, but of course, he was caught and brought back. However, when questioned by Elizi, Niu San wasn't intimidated. "Your leaders have been coming to me to buy dog meat and drink liquor. What kind of study session is this? You can't even drink?" Seeing that the self-criticism meeting was being disrupted, Elizi decided to interrogate a few people individually, with Zhuo becoming the main target. Zhuo had once sung opera before liberation and had been a concubine to a Kuomintang officer, though she had been forced into it. Despite this, Elizi insisted on accusing her of having improper relationships. He demanded to know with whom, how many people, and the political background of these individuals. Meanwhile, in another room, Sima and Niu San were locked together, reflecting on their actions. Niu San, who didn't agree with being paraded, was stopped by Sima. "You're a three-generation poor peasant. What crime is it to get drunk? But your attitude is your problem. Don't confront them. Be flexible, be soft." Nyo-san wasn't as tactful as Sima, but he had a skill. He sometimes helped with slaughtering dogs to get some alcohol. Sima, on the other hand, had to rely on his family to bring him food. One day, Sima's son came to deliver food and found Sima lying motionless on the bed, mistakenly thinking he had become an orphan. He cried bitterly, but nearly became a victim of his dead father. "Even if I die, I won't let anyone cry. I will criticize and scold, and cut off all ties," Sima said, worrying his son might forget him. Sima then had to prepare for his graduation from the Cultural Revolution study sessions, and a seemingly minor altercation with Nyo-san helped avoid further disasters. Sima, realizing the situation had turned in his favor, decided to use the moment to his advantage. He knew that Elise had wrongly accused Zhuo of improper relationships, so he suggested that he and others add several top leaders to a list to take the fall, knowing that those in power would cover up their own wrongs. Elise was soon exposed, and his career came to an end. Despite all of this, the lives of Sima and his associates did not improve. Nyo-san still slaughtered dogs for a living, and Sima and Zhuo couldn't continue their businesses. Sima resorted to collecting trash, while Zhuo started selling rat poison. They barely survived, but life under the revolution remained harsh. Elise, however, now fearing retaliation, went to apologize to Sima and explain that during the movement, if you didn't attack others, they would attack you. Elise was right. Human nature seemed to always follow this pattern. For instance, Zhuo had been constantly rumored to be hiding improper relationships. One night, Sima saw a few thugs trying to break into Zhuo's house. He tried to reason with them but was met with violence, so he asked Nyo-san for help. Nyo-san, a tough man in the area, frightened off the thugs with his presence and stayed the night to guard the house. The next day, Zhuo was so grateful she invited Nyo-san over to share meals. Nyo-san agreed but, being cautious, gave all the money he earned from slaughtering dogs to Zhuo for food. Soon, rumors began to spread that Nyo-san was secretly dating Zhuo. Even though they weren't romantically involved, it didn't stop the gossip. Despite the spreading rumors, the leaders of the Revolutionary Committee sent people to investigate, warning Zhuo to watch her words and actions due to her black class status. Soon, the up to the mountains and down to the countryside movement started. All city dwellers without permanent jobs were sent to the countryside for re-education. Sima tried to use his connections to reopen the art studio, but now it had to operate under a collective name. He persuaded Zhuo to reopen her second-hand shop as well, and she agreed, although she didn't dare to bribe the leaders. Sima taught her how to deliver gifts secretly to the officials' homes. Unfortunately, it was too late. The Down to the Countryside group came for Zhuo. As Sima helped her make a living, he also tried to get her daughter, Diao, into a troupe. She could stay in the city if she succeeded, but it became complicated when Nyo-san was opposed to her joining the entertainment industry. In the end, the tragedy unfolded as expected. Diao was mistreated in the troupe, and Nyo-san left for another woman. Sima wrote this story into a novel after the Cultural Revolution ended, but the editor rejected it, saying the ending wasn't optimistic enough. The editor wanted a happy conclusion, with Diao becoming a famous actress and Sima having a romance with Zhuo. However, Sima's story was far from a fairy tale. Nyo-san eventually returned to his old trade, still unmarried. Zhuo was driven mad by the fate of her daughter and had to be institutionalized. Diao, who once was gentle and kind, had turned into a hard woman. Ironically, the person who thrived after the revolution was Elise, who always managed to adapt and succeed. The novel was never published, and the gap between the editor's expectations and reality left Sima pondering how to modify it. Should he make it fictionalized, or keep it real?